About a year after our big trip around Texas, Laud, Roger, and I sat down with some friends who had some questions about the trip.
Just some of the basics. How long did the trip take from start to finish?
Travel time?
Drive time.
Drive time?
On the route was 27 days.
We were on the road.
Is that from when
32.
we left the house or when we met up?
No, that was from Ruidoso to Ruidoso.
Route to route was 27 days.
It varied on the final one. We had, I think mine was like 31 days.
It was 30.
Yeah, I was just gonna
was
say,
32.
So I know that some of the camping that you did was free. Do you have any idea if someone wanted to try and replicate a trip like this, what the cost was for just camping for the nights that you had to pay?
It was less than $100 combined.
Yeah, way less.
It was like 30 bucks. I think our first paid campsite was coming down out of the Panhandle already.
Yeah.
So nearly halfway through before we paid for a site.
And we paid extra because there were electrical sites.
Yes.
So you could do it for
You could have done it for free at that location.
Any idea on the total cost of fuel from home to home? Do you guys keep track of that? Or?
Mine was from Carrizo Springs back to Carrizo Springs was $941 in fuel.
Mine was $1,200 in fuel, but I also did a long turn and burn. But yeah, door to door, mine was $1,200.
I have no idea. For some reason, wasn't it? It was like 1,200. I think it was close to 1,200. And you and I are diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was gas.
And his was gas.
So I paid less per gallon all through the. I noticed in mine the fuel cost was $2.39 almost consistently all the way around the state, which was kind of surprising to me.
Ours wasn't too terrible either. We didn't get gouged very much.
Yeah,
It was fair price all the way around. I think we paid $3 one time, and they had us at that point though. We had to pay it.
Then there was the time coming up from the Panhandle where I was down to like one.
Yeah, you had an expensive fill-up.
We had already figured out.
All the spare diesel was gone.
Yeah, we were already planning on how they were going to come back and get me, because I was down to no mileage left. I filled up it with my gauge said 1 mile to go.
That's plenty of time.
Yeah.
How much of the trip was on private land that you had to have permission to cross?
That's a lot question.
That's a lot question.
That was the first 3 to 5 days required permission, and then we had gained other permissions further on. Before we got into the Panhandle, there was a private section that we had permission to. That road was questionable though because it was a large lease road, but we had permission to be in there, so we had the okay to be on that road. So
that would be a hard one to get.
Yeah, that would be hard for anybody to go in there with what we had. So the first week was private property.
Last question on money. The overall cost for everything from start to finish, including your fuel and your food and whatever
include camera gear?
Maintenance costs, were there any during the trip?
Maintenance, we got lucky.
We bought air filters, remember?
I paid for automatic transmission fluid for my steering box, and that was about it.
Yep.
But we bought air filters, remember?
I didn't buy air filters.
Mike bought air filters.
Yeah, Mike and Gary were still with us.
Yeah.
Or George was still with us.
Mike and George bought a bunch of air filters for us.
I bought one too.
So,
What were the air filters for all the dirt roads?
yes.
Okay.
But they clean better when they're clogged.
So the
I
overall
still haven't touched mine a year later.
overall cost of trip was the question.
Yeah.
I was under 3,000. Door to door, I was under 3,000. I bought a lot of steaks.
And some part of the camp.
You bought what?
I bought a lot of steaks.
You bought a lot of beer too.
Hey!
That leads into my
But we
next
won't-
question.
How many beers were consumed?
Yeah.
We didn't keep track of that.
Yeah.
It seemed like, at least with the first 2 to 3 episodes, almost every shot that wasn't in a vehicle, there was a Miller Lite in someone's hand.
Or a Coors Light.
Yeah.
Are you sponsored?
Every
I
night.
wish they should.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah. The first week was a party because we were in places that a lot of people don't get to go see.
This is one for each of you. What was your favorite leg of the trip? And by leg, I mean you've basically broken it down now into the episodes showing the different regions that you were in. Do you have a specific region that was your favorite?
You haven't seen it yet, mine. Next episode, maybe.
If I could only go do one part of the trip again, it'd have been the first week.
Which was where?
The Rio Grande. Following the river was incredible.
Indian Hot Springs.
Indian Hot Springs just was, wow.
That I would agree with that. That was my favorite part. Was the
Yeah.
Indian Hot Springs section.
Not me. I like the Gulf, going down through the Gulf, and then even after when we got past South Padre, going back all the way down to Laredo, I liked that area.
What do you like about it, Roger?
Well, the Gulf, it's just different than being in Central Texas and stuff. And then after you leave South Padre, it's a little bit like the Hot Springs area, not as rough roads and not as remote, but it was just different for me. I've never been down that area, that Harlingen, Laredo area.
It was desolate.
But I mean, I definitely liked the Hot Springs and that whole area. But that was for me. That was the beginning. So when you start something, you're always high on everything you do.
Yeah.
And then oil fields and the Panhandle took a little bit out of that.
Laud, what did you like about Indian Hot Springs particularly?
You know, I'm the only one that did not get into the Indian Hot Springs. I was the only one that did not get in the springs. I was busy, I was preoccupied, I was just enjoying where I was. The ranch, the property itself, getting into the property, the whole day leading up to it, the roads were incredible. The views were amazing. Out every way you could see, it was just, felt like I was in the middle of like Hobbit Town or something. Just Lord of the Rings everywhere.
Yeah.
There was nothing there but large rocks, rock road. The river out was right there somewhere. Just the property of Hot Springs. There's big mountains in Texas that just ain't got no trees on them.
And Tim, what in particular about Indian Hot Springs did you really like?
I think the remoteness, the inaccessibility for most people, the fact that it's right on the river, and Mexico's just across the way, a easy way to cross if you were.
Saw it on TV once.
Yeah,
You could do it.
it could happen if it wasn't.
The water's only
It's
like
physically
ankle
possible. You could probably just walk across.
You think?
Just the history of the place, and there's kind of a mystique about it that there's ghost lights that have been mentioned, and just some kind of strange happenings in the area, and haunted hotel, and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of made it.
And what about
Interesting.
mountain lion traps?
Yeah, mountain lion traps.
Bait
Yeah.
goats.
Did you see mountain lion traps?
Yeah, there
Dress,
were-
We
yeah,
actually had to feed the bait.
We went and fed the bait goats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Explain more.
You didn't see that, but that was kind of a behind the scenes that, there were 2 traps on opposite ends of the property where they were specific mountain lion traps, a cage where the goat, which was the bait, was held,
It was a 2-bedroom apartment.
and then the outer apartment, the living room, if you will, was trip plate, pressure plate floor that If the mountain lion came in, he would not get out, and if he was smart, could actually get the goat, but not always.
Was it a live trap then? Not a.
It was a live trap, and so we fed those goats a couple of nights.
So it was a live trap for the mountain lion, but maybe not so much for the goat.
Not so much for the goat.
Yeah.
The goat, I don't know if.
What was that big plant, the top of the cactus?
The yuccas.
Was that the yuccas?
Yeah, it was the yucca blooms.
Yeah, they fed them.
Yeah,
they fed the goats the yucca blooms.
And hay. I went the first night
Alfalfa
we were
bales,
there.
yeah.
I went and went with Terry and
Mike,
Reuben
wasn't it?
Reuben.
to go feed the goat on the east end property down the canyon.
We have a follow-up real quick on the mountain lions. So what did they do with the mountain lions? Did they tell you? If once they
She
fell?
was
She wants a
going.
rug?
She wanted to stuff it and mount it.
She
Okay,
wanted,
so they
yeah,
would shoot 'em.
she wanted a
Oh.
yeah.
She
wanted a
she-
personal mount.
She wanted a one for probably
You
the
can see the cantina.
cantina.
The cantina.
So this
she
was
wanted-
not a relocation project.
No. She
A
mentioned
permanent relocation.
Yeah.
Yes. So for the aspect of favorite parts of Hot Spring, the trip, yeah, just the location, but in the end, the host,
If you look over to your
our
right,
host was spectacular.
you see all of
Yeah, she
she
was.
was
Amazing person.
amazingly gracious. Gave us free reign of the
Spring,
property
Yep.
and
Gave us their vehicles.
free reign of the vehicles, free
Yeah.
reign of the kitchen and the hotel.
It's all yours.
We could do whatever we wanted. And
Incredible.
It was just real.
So we discussed your favorite section of the trip. What would you say is your favorite aspect of the trip? Was it getting to travel with your buddies for 30 days, or was it getting to see stuff that you hadn't seen before? The overall challenge?
Yes.
Yeah.
away from the family.
I got to do something I haven't seen done before.
I personally had, for the same time frame, I had a trip scheduled and planned to go with some friends to Copper Canyon in Mexico. And then I don't know where Laud and I were. We were camping somewhere. And Laud told me about this trip, and he said I could come. Canceled my Copper Canyon trip, and for me, the main reason is it's going to be a hard time for anybody to do it again. I mean, all the planning that Laud put into it, I consider myself the hobo of the trip. I just jumped on and went and could jump off wherever I wanted to. So I wasn't in on the planning, I wasn't in on any of the, and I couldn't experience it again. And none of you could, nobody could experience it again without being on the tail of Laud and trailing behind him. I mean,
For me, I guess the favorite aspect was the history and the scale of it. It was just an immense trip due to the size of the state and the variety of the terrain, the amount of history that we encountered. It was a once-in-a-lifetime trip. It was really cool.
Oh, no, it's still overwhelming. We did it, and it's still overwhelming to me. Again, I haven't seen it done before of this style anywhere yet. You know, everybody goes across stuff, drives all the way across this, drives all the way across this, but nobody's really stayed and did a circumference like this, and then
Nobody goes around.
nobody goes around. So I reached out to a couple other groups, a couple other people that I'd looked up to, say, have you ever seen anything like this? And they did some research, and I got somebody else back that in the 70s, a editor from somewhere, I'd be lying if I said where it was, but him and his son did something similar in a Jeep. They drove around the state. I can't find it documented anywhere. I can't find it. So it was new, something different.
totally different. I've traveled all over the United States in all different modes of transportation. And this was, I mean, it seems to me still, it's been over a year,
Over a year now.
and it seems like we just did it last month.
So, like you said, we're a year out, and you've had, they say hindsight's 20/20. is there anything that you would change about the trip? That could be anything from the route that you took, or the places that you camped, or the gear that you took with you. Anything that sticks out?
For me, I think the only thing I would have changed is if I had known more about how to do it, I would have captured things a little better on the video.
That's bull. That's bull. I mean,
No, I was a rookie. I went into this with no experience whatsoever.
You might have been a rookie, but you did so good. I mean, and that's
So, there's a lot of things that I would have done different, or I would do differently given the experience now, but there's no way I could do it back then. So, I had to go through it first.
And something that made the trip a little bit better was I like the fact that we had people that did jump in on the trip with us. Whether it be the terra firma guys or any of the other people. Can't remember all their names, but it was nice to get to a campsite or get to an area and have somebody that I personally had never met before and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
If I had to change anything, I would ask for more time.
Well, that too.
Because we covered, it was a very high pace run. Yeah.
After Hot Springs.
Let's go again. Let's go again tomorrow.
It was, to follow up on that, doesn't seem like much. We did, according to my odometer, about 5,400 miles all the way around. We averaged, 200 to 300 miles per day.
Yep.
Which doesn't seem like much, but we were
20 miles an hour.
10 hours a day, 20 to 30 miles per day, or per hour. And so it was a lot of long days, not a whole lot of down days in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was it doesn't seem like it, but it was a fairly grueling pace to get it done. And we had originally planned on doing it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. It ended up being 3 and almost 4 weeks.
Almost 4 weeks.
So is that the longest you could stretch it to? Is that why you did it?
That's all the time I had off.
Yeah, that's all the time.
It's all the time we could get off. It's all the time I could get off.
I think I was pushing end of time off as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were trying to finish to get to the TO rendezvous.
Yeah, it was a rough pace.
I mean, after Hot Springs, how many more than one night stays did we have?
I think
One in the Panhandle.
One in the Panhandle.
One in the Panhandle. One. Where was the second one? We had a couple that were kind of planned in, but Where
did we do?
Oh, Panhandle was Canadian.
Yes, we did a double night at Canadian, which was needed. I think that was it because we.
I think
that's
that's the only one
that
I
was
remember.
it.
Yeah.
We ate them up at Indian Hot Springs.
Yeah, we stayed an extra night at Indian Hot Springs just because of the coolness of the
We
place.
front loaded the credit we had.
So what does it take to get you guys to sing? Is it Queen?
A little bit of grape juice. maybe a couple of beers.
Maybe some of both.
So when are you guys gonna go on tour?
Yeah, right. I need to pick up the ukulele.
Was this the first extended trip that you guys did together?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it the last?
I hope not.
Probably yes.
Probably, but I hope not.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could put up with them again.
So with that being said, you spend any extended period of time with a group of people, at some point they're going to get on your nerves. Is there anything in particular that you can think of that maybe you have a grievance to air with one of your compatriots?
No grievances, because it was so organic.
That was one of the things that was kind of surprising to me, was that we did get along so well the entire trip. We never had any gripes or problems. It was all pretty easy going, and
There was never a day we didn't talk the next morning.
yeah,
There was never any doubt.
and that was kind of surprising.
Yeah, because a
What
lot
was
of times
good
Because
was
we
each day was new.
expected some friction somewhere, but there
Each
wasn't.
day was new too. You know, so it was like starting over. Everything every day was starting new.
These
so.
guys are just so great.
all my friends are assholes.
I resemble that remark.
So for people that may not have experience with extended trips, maybe not necessarily trying to duplicate this trip, but a trip more than a weekend warrior, what would you say was the most difficult part, i.e. like being away from family or not having clean underwear? Or what do you think was the most difficult part for you for the trip?
Underwear.
Clean underwear? What's
What are
that?
I don't know.
Well, I didn't have any family to be away from.
Like I
so
said,
that
I was
not an
taking it
issue
day
for
by
me.
day, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out what we were going to do the
Difficult
next
part.
day.
It was a challenge for the pace that we were on.
Yeah.
As far as just trying to maintain and keep a positive outlook on what we're doing and stay ahead of the storms or
Storm, yeah, that
the
was-
weather and but yeah, no, it wasn't super difficult other than just keep moving.
The hardest thing for me leading up to it was logistics. Getting it so we could go do it was the hardest part for me. It was over 2 years in the planning before we could actually pull the trigger and say go. And the trigger was pulled really about 6 months before we left. I was offered an opportunity. It's like, are we going to do this or not? Here we go. The route was done, and then logistics came in. But for what advice could I give on somebody doing something like this? Plan lots of options in there and be ready if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to.
And accept it.
Set your expectations low and have fun with it.
Yeah, but Laud did he did all the planning, but the planning was so good that we only, turned around twice?
No, there was
once
more
and
than
a
that.
half?
No, there were more turnarounds than that, but there were probably less than 10.
Yeah.
There were more than 5, but less than 10. We had a couple in a couple days because I remember this because I saw some of it on the footage. But there were probably less than 10 where we had to reroute
Yeah.
around an area where we couldn't get through because permission wasn't granted or
A logging operation come in.
a road was closed and there were things in the way.
Because of what lot? What did you just say?
Logging operations in East Texas.
Oh.
The large
There were a couple there.
the large leases out there. It was their turn to go through and harvest, so the road was shut.
That was a few times. There were a couple along the Red River. There was one in particular where we went and talked to a ranch manager
Yeah.
who said, no, we can't let you through, kind of a thing. But other than that, there was fairly small. We had one in the Panhandle, I think, and that may have been the first one.
I think that was the first one.
Noticed that you guys alternated leaders pretty regularly. Was that planned, or did it just kind of happen? Was there?
It just.
I never led.
It was more like
It was more like I missed a turn, so the next person
he was
take lead.
avoiding it whenever possible. No, it was most of the time it was missed a turn and
Stay straight. I'll get in line.
somebody, that the person the lead would miss the turn and fall in behind, kind of a thing. And we kind of rotated a little bit. There were sections where, I took the lead. There were sections that everybody kind of played the lead at some point, and it was completely unplanned. There was no preordained
shift.
anything.
Throw money at him, and I missed a turn back there.
Another ploy to put me out in front again. I see how you are.
You're not falling for it?
Oh, don't have a whole lot of choice, but two can play that game,
They were intentionally making missing a turn so that somebody else would fall in front.
What? It's nice to follow once in a while.
It is nice to follow, and I had
Eat
no
dust.
complaints, but it was it was kind of funny that, oh yeah, I missed the turn, sorry.
We even sent Tim back a couple times.
So
Yeah.
you can
Back
see
for
the rest
what?
of the trip.
I left things behind in a couple of places.
Like, what'd you leave behind?
Camera equipment was one.
Eyeballs
Shaving gear, yeah.
Shaving gear in another.
with contacts in it, so you can see.
So there were a few times where I had to backtrack a little bit.
The first episode, I'm watching it on my phone, and Laud's like, he texted me, he's like, you need to watch that on a television. And so I put it on the TV, and there's so much that I missed watching it on my phone that I saw on the TV. My favorite aspect, and this was another question that I had, I've noticed that you have pictures of all the city limit signs.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, we stopped at every one.
Everyone.
That's one of the main things I liked is you guys
Every one of them.
photographed and marked every marker and
Every-
everything that you could have.
So
I thought
the
that was
question
so cool.
is,
So if
do
I
you
could
know-
change one thing, hey Tim, let's not grab a picture of every city limit sign we cross.
I can imagine that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was. I was over it about halfway through.
So,
But he started it, and he told me what we were doing. I was like, that's actually a really cool collage. It's going to be really cool.
It was badass. It was really rad.
It was a neat touch. Yeah,
so how many
got to give
times
it to him.
stop? How many pictures did you end up with?
Oh my god.
Of the signs.
Oof.
Of just the signs.
I had the number, and now I don't remember. I want to say like 136.
Yeah.
Something like that is.
It was just right under 150 somewhere.
Yeah, it was about 100.
Seemed like it was every day.
It was every
All day?
I mean, 136 every day.
Yeah, it was a grueling.
It got to the point to
Exercise.
where if we're up front, we would see, we'd call them out, we'd just kind of slow down and roll out of town. We're going straight, we just kind of roll on down. He'd come up. It turned into an art. It was a nice little dance every time we came
And
through.
there were a few that I missed coming into South Padre area, and Rosita caught a few of them on her phone, but
Right.
probably 95% of those I captured.
Yep.
And trying to be as consistent as possible, but it was kind of a rough one.
I wouldn't change it, but there was, that was the.
Are we done yet?
He's I know this is going to be cool, but here we go.
How many Texas counties?
I have
No
it-
idea.
I do, but I don't have it with me right now. I did put it on my map. So if I had my phone, we can cut this one in later. But I did figure out how many counties we crossed just on the trip alone, or just on the border alone, and how many counties I crossed from door to door.
And we probably covered different because I covered
Right.
a few different, and
Right.
Tim probably.
But on the route, it was.
So on the route proper, it's a significant amount.
How many countries were you in on your trip?
One.
Just one.
Officially one.
Well, it depends on what time frame, because at one point we were Texas Republic.
So that's one.
One. We saw pictures of another country.
So
We took pictures of another country.
Okay.
I did that.
All right. So, what was your worst night?
My worst night was waking up with phone alerts at Searim State Park because of all the storm finally caught us and pinned us in the corner. We had no place to go. So yeah, I got a little frantic and panicked and decided I need to get out of there.
Laud woke up at 3 a.m. seeing flood warnings and decided that we should probably get moving. So everybody got up, put their beds away, closed everything up, got in trucks, and then we discussed it and decided to stay put. However, nobody wants to go back to bed. So I'm sitting here in my truck, 2 hours later.
And he says, hey, you're at the safest spot you can be right now. We're at the ocean. The ocean don't flood. What do you mean the ocean don't flood?
Yeah, but we've been running
The
from
ocean
that
don't flood
storm
for days.
for 4 nights at least.
It was a
5 maybe.
big storm. It was a big storm. Woke everybody up, broke camp down, then we slept in front seats for a few hours, or tried to, and then
Till daybreak.
Yeah, till daybreak, and then we woke up and grabbed some powdered donuts and bad coffee and went to the flood zone of the river that was coming in. And oh, yeah, hey, weather sucks, and these are cool statues, though. These are really cool statues.
You know, that was a pretty cool
And then
night.
we went and did laundry. Yeah, my worst night was Sea Rim State Park. Coming in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning up in the Panhandle, that was okay. That was part of the game, but Sea Rim State Park was.
Yeah, it was probably.
I had an issue that night.
I would probably say the haunted hotel. Just kidding.
Scarred for life.
Yeah, probably. I have to say.
I didn't like. What's the road from Laredo? What do they call it? When all of a sudden it turned to crap for like 50 miles.
Old Mine Road.
Is that Old Mine Road?
Mine Road.
Yeah,
Old Mine Road was brutal. We couldn't air down enough.
Trying to edit a photo here.
Well, I was working on an etch-a-sketch portrait, but so much for that.
Problem, did it scribble it or did it erase it?
Made it 3D. I'm just mixing up some nitro. This is entertaining. What's that? Webb County Maintenance, Rough Road. They put those signs rough road after you've driven on it for 20 miles. Like it's gonna make a difference. I'll be okay with not seeing this road ever again. Yeah, co-pilot's saying the same thing. And it never quit. It just kept going.
And did we have illegals stop us on that road? Was that road?
No, we had one guy we passed.
We had one guy that passed.
But he was
done. He was tired.
He was giving up.
Yeah, he was done.
See a lot of border patrol out there then?
A lot of border patrol.
We saw enough border patrol. They knew we were coming.
They would come around the corner and they'd be there.
It was pretty cool. They had their communications with us. Yeah, it was neat.
They were listening in.
They were waiting for us to show up, and to the point where we got to one spot, and to get down to one of the really neat trees, one of the neat landmarks we went to, they were waiting for us there, and we all pulled up and wasn't quite sure what to do, so I got out and walked up to us and said, hey, we've been waiting for you, it's down there.
So they directed us through the border fence.
This is awesome.
Through the fence.
You had to go through across the border.
No.
Oh,
No, we just went
through the border fence.
Ah, okay.
The fence is on our side.
To a 900-year-old tree.
900-year-old bald cypress? Big cypress.
Some cypress.
Some big old tree. And it was really cool. But yeah, that was the neatest experience of the Border Patrol. They always knew where we were, of course.
And we encountered both Border Patrol and like Highway Patrol or state troopers or something down in that border region. And they all knew pretty much what we were doing because I think they were listening to us.
They said they were listening to us, yeah.
Yeah, when we went for the far south point of Texas, we went in and I got to the private road. We came back out and they were waiting for us and they said, yeah, the benchmark's right there. It's a reference marker because it's all private that way. I was like, yeah, thanks guys.
You had an interesting variety of markers you pursued as you made your way around the state. What was the most unusual one?
I think the international.
The international one was probably the most unusual. For me, the unexpected one was and it wasn't one I was chasing, I just knew that we were in the area, would have been the northwest corner of Texas and Oklahoma. So the far northwest part of the Panhandle, I wasn't expecting there to be a reference marker there. But it was like an Adobe mass clay thing that was a reference marker saying you've got another like 1,100 feet that way. And it was out in the field. I was like, I'm not going to chase it. I went as close as I could. Yeah, the northeast corner was probably the most unique in not expecting it to be there. But as we came down the 100th meridian, those were kind of cool.
That one's the kind of interesting one because I just happened to see it. It was this pedestal on the edge of the field, right in the barbed wire fence, and stopped to look at it, recognizing that it was going to be a USGS type benchmark, and it says Supreme Court of the United States, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, because everything else was USGS or US Topo. This was Supreme Court stamp of approval. It's ours now.
So that was kind of interesting.
Stop the arguing, boys. We're done.
How has your life changed since you became a YouTube star?
They're talking to you.
Not all of you.
Am I a YouTube star? Well, since I haven't been able to finish, the series, so I can't even get to it anymore, just because, I've got
fan mail.
Fan mail, and crowds every time I leave the house.
All the paparazzi.
I'm not a YouTube star yet.
Laud?
Next week, maybe.
Next week.
Roger?
Hasn't changed for me.
Can't walk the streets. Have to wear disguises.
What are you guys doing next? And really, no winking.
I can't wait. Damn it.
I don't know.
We don't have plans.
Yes, you do.
Do we have plans? Oh, what am I doing? I'm going to Overland Expo West. That's next.
And how you're going to get there?
We're going to go overland.
It's like a 2-day drive, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 or 6. Going to go cross Texas to New Mexico, then go through the Gila National Forest and the Mogollon Rim to Flagstaff.
In July, I'm going to go follow an imaginary line that separates east and west watershed of the United States. Called the Continental Divide.
It's not an imaginary line, per se.
It's not drawn, you can't see it.
No.
Well, you can.
You can cross it a million
You
times.
look across it.
So how are you going to do that? Because that technically runs along ridge lines and mountaintops.
I'm going to skirt it as close as I can in a vehicle. I'm not going to walk the Continental Divide Trail. I'm not built for that.
You're not?
I used to could.
How long is that going to take you? And
I'm taking all of July to go look at it.
okay.
Is it easy to go?
Yes,
And which side are you going to stay? Are you going to stay on the
Both.
Atlantic side or Pacific side during crossover?
both. I will cross over about 5 to 11 times. Depends on which ones I can get through. July should be fair.
Which basins you can cross over?
It's for you to watch and me to know.
Okay.
I'll tell you when I'm done.
Is it going to be on video?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're doing a video?
I'll tell you when I'm done. I don't know yet.
And Roger, what's next up your sleeve?
Week or two doing a diesel run with some buddies that all have diesel trucks to New Mexico, and then 50th class reunion high school in June, and then Alaska in August.
And you're driving that, right?
No, we're gonna fly in and take a train and take a boat.
We need to cut that part out.
Yeah. Susan won't drive.
I
with
want to
me.
go. I'll ride with on the planes, trains, and automobiles.
And then we're waiting for Laud for the next border trip.
When's the next trip that you guys will go together on?
I don't have plans for
Do you
me.
have
Tomorrow?
anything in
Tomorrow?
works?
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Vermont Backroad Borders. It's small.
It's all fluid. Nothing's been planned. I mean, I'm still kind of in a rush that we just finished this one a year ago.
So when are you doing the lower 48
Yeah.
border?
So sounds like you're talking to somebody else that's a school teacher over there. I don't know that one would be as entertaining as the one that we just did.
Planning it would be.
Planning would take a while.
Logistics.
Yeah.
I need to start about 4 years ago.
Well,
And
say that if you start now, you can 5 years from now. We could be having another video.
it's not off the docket, and I haven't seen that one done yet.
We joked about Alaska while we were on the trip, but that one's probably not possible.
I can only go where roads are.
It'd be fun to try and do a northern border. One
Yeah,
of those
but-
states.
Yep. Mountains are big and there's not a lot of roads through them, so they become barriers. the detours become days, multiple days to get around it, to get back on. Not against it. Just
So you're keeping that one in your pocket?
need a little more time yet.
Okay.
I need a little more free time.
Okay. Retirement.
Yeah, I still got that Monday through Friday thing is still real for me.
All right. So what's the funniest thing that happened while you're out there? You guys gotta like laugh a little bit more. Y'all gotta smile.
George.
Like, together at the same time.
Damn
and
it,
you gotta
Tim!
laugh.
Anything George did.
Anything, George?
Anything George did.
There was an accusation that somebody said something and it carried through the whole, it carried through till right now. A year later, it carried through till right now.
So what was it?
That afternoon where we were singing the song, George, I made a comment that George took to be a cut on another team member, and he basically started, it was a running joke throughout where he was interpreting what he said were low-level cuts into full-on cuts, and it was digs on other folks.
About how to turn a camera on or not.
So he basically became my interpreter.
Tim will be here all week with his not so subtle burns. I can't figure out this camera. Maybe if you weren't so dumb. Tim, I can't figure out your camera. Maybe if your wife didn't hate you, you could figure out the camera.
It's been more than 3 hours.
Maybe if you weren't a drunk piece of shit.
When I said something, it was, no, this is what Tim really said. And there were some pretty funny moments there.
Yeah.
That didn't make the cut.
Yeah, notice who the editor is.
Well, you know.
Well, we didn't know if the cameras were running because the drunk son of a bitch couldn't turn the camera on.
Wait, who was the drunk son of a bitch?
Yes.
So what was the?
All of them.
What was the standard one that he said? If you weren't such a
drunk piece of shit. and then everything else from there just keeps rolling.
You weren't such a drunk piece of shit. Yeah, that was the one.
So is that the comment now? If you weren't just such a drunk piece of shit, then something would be better.
You could have remembered. You would have known.
You can just plug anything out after. You just plug anything in after that.
Or if you did it again, would you take more time, or would you keep the same pace that you kept?
I want 40, 50 days to do that one.
Oh, no, I mean, the whole time we were talking about how great it would be just to do like
3-4 days
from
a
the
year.
start till week 1. It would have been nice to spend a month doing that. I mean, any part of the trip except maybe the Panhandle. I don't know whether
The Panhandle
it could
needs
easily double it and still have a good trip.
Yes.
The overall time frame.
So would you just cede the Panhandle to New Mexico and just skip it the next trip?
No, the Panhandle is.
Surprised me.
Yeah, it was surprising, but it's not something that.
It's.
I'd
I don't
wanna
know if
spend
it's
a
a new
whole lot more
destination, but there's some cool stuff there.
And you don't, it's not something you want to do over and over again.
Yeah.
It was surprising the first time around, but it won't be surprising the second time
I
around.
went through a lot of places and noticed okay, I need to go check. I need to spend a little bit more time here. Like, let's go spend a weekend in this area.
Uncertain.
Yes.
I want to get back out that area pretty quick. Uncertain Texas.
More time. More time.
That's in my neck of the woods. You're welcome to come.
Okay, you guys toasted?
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah, roasted.
Toasted and roasted.